With each new set of Disney Lorcana, we continuously get to develop the metagame. Shimmering Skies brought with us 204 new cards, some that we were very excited about as they came, and then some that we might have overlooked. In today's video, I want to be talking about 7 cards that I believe through the first month of the new Disney Lorcana metagame in Shimmering Skies have actually made a true impact, and they might have done it in such a subtle way that you've overlooked them. Maybe they haven't been in every single deck list, but they have been in some successful deck lists, and they're cards that, honestly, since I've played with them, I think they're going to be standouts moving forward within the metagame. So, time is of the essence. Let's get into the first card. Cogsworth, the Illuminary Watchman, is a 1-cost inkable, 1 strength, 1 willpower, and 1 lore character for Amethyst. With the ability Time to Move It, when you play this character, chosen character gains Rush this turn. In Chapter 1, one of the most dominant cards in the metagame was White Rabbit's Pocket Watch, which was a 3-cost inkable item that read exert this, pay 1, and give a character Rush. Cogsworth is that exact same ability, but on a character and in Amethyst as well. So not only for the low cost of a 1-cost character that is inkable, that it does have a lore and does have a stat line, can give to alter a character's ability to, when they come into play, immediately gain Rush, and then challenge and take something out. While all that's wonderful, the crazy thing about Cogsworth is that it can also be brought back to your hand through cards like Madam Mim, the snake, or the fox, even now maybe elephant. I actually think elephant is one of the key factors of why this card gets even more play moving forward. While Cogsworth has gone a little unnoticed because it hasn't been in the most competitive Ruby Amethyst decks or the most successful versions of Ruby Amethyst, he has found home in other versions of Amethyst decks. This is a Sapphire Amethyst control deck that's featuring Cogsworth. We actually played some games with a very similar deck list to this recently on the TFM gameplay channel. So if you're looking to get an idea of how powerful Cogsworth is, you can definitely check out those videos in the description. But you can see here now, we are gaining a ton of characters that love getting rushed when they come into play. And for a 1-cost inkable character, this tiny little add-on with a card like Merlin Crab or Madam Mim Elephant, even rabbits or Merlin Goats, when necessary, are pretty great. Even a card like Anna, which may cost, 7 and be uninkable, her ability to come in, exert everything down, and then to give her Rush with a card like Cogsworth can really set the tone for the game moving forward. I think Cogsworth is a character that will consistently see play over the next few sets. I believe it's a card that is a true powerhouse for a very cheap, effective ability on an inkable card. Sapphire has picked up probably some of the most played cards in Shimmering Skies. I believe these are 2 of the standouts, but I think there's even another one that we're going to talk about later on in the video. But to get started, Tipo Growing Sun is the 2-cost inkable, 1 strength, 2 willpower, 1 lore with the ability of Measure Me Again. When you play this character, you may put a card from your hand into your inkwell face down and exert it. And the action 2-cost inkable Hideaway, put chosen item or location into its player's inkwell face down and exert it. Now, we have had a fair bit of 2-cost inkable or 2-cost ramp cards, I should say, like One Jump Ahead, Grandma Tala, and things of that nature that have always kind of found a way to be, in certain meta decks. Tipo is a Fishbone Quill to an extent on turn 2, which is really enabling the turn 2 into turn 4, but it's also setting up some greater lines where on turn 2 we can play Tipo, we can add a resource to the thing, and then on turn 3 we can actually now sing One Jump Ahead with Tipo and still play a Fishbone Quill and things like that, and you can really kind of just obliterate your hand very early, and really just like extend the pace of the game and kind of just say, hey, very early on in the game, I'm going to threaten very big characters or very big swing turns very, very quickly, which I really do enjoy. Hideaway, I think, also acts as a pseudo ramp when you need to. The idea that you can just take a popsicle and ramp it on two, if your whole play, if a lot of what your game is built around is a one cost item into a two cost ramp, into a four cost on three, then all of these things can kind of all work together towards the same goal. Having Tipo, having Hideaway, and having One Jump can all really play into this role of kind of just like abusing your inkwell very, very quickly and very effectively. Ruby Sapphire Control is a deck that's been pretty successful early on within the metagame. And you can take a look here that, adding cards like Tipo and Hideaway, being able to manipulate your own popsicles when necessary, or just very cheaply removing opponents' locations and items is all very, very powerful. But Tipo is kind of the centerpiece to this concept of a card that can just be in play, ramp you one on turn two, and then start ramping you even further and getting you really out ahead is very, very powerful. Being able to sing one jump ahead with your 1/2, awesome. Being able to contest all of the 1/1 bodies that are seeing play right now from aggro decks, also very important because this is a character that we can continuously utilize even in combat just because of the 2 willpower. It's not a straight trade. I believe that these two cards are, guaranteed staples for Sapphire decks moving forward. And I think that you're going to see them in almost every Sapphire deck in the current metagame. Another card that I think, when released, was definitely overlooked is Doc Bold Knight. The 2 cost uninkable, 1 strength, 3 willpower, and 1 lore with the ability Drastic Measures. When you play this character, you may discard your hand and draw 2 cards. Now listen, Doc is a whole new world, right? Like, he's not a flat replacement to that card, but he is a pretty damn good card. For me, back to my WoW TCG friends, there was a card called Orders of Lady Vosh, which is pay 2 and draw 2 cards if you had no cards in your hand. This card is like, it's basically Orders of Lady Vosh, but on a Lorcana character, which from the moment I saw it, I was like, there might be something there. Like the 1/3 stat line, also nothing to shy away about it. No, he's not like a standout, but he also isn't just getting removed from like a strength of a Raging Fire. Not that anyone's playing Teeth and Ambitions, but it would also dodge that. So his stat line is not nothing. It does require all of the 3 strength characters to remove this character. So gaining more than 1 lore with this is also pretty realistic. But the honest truth is that this card's coming into play and just drawing you 2 cards. The times where you're gonna like discard a card is probably almost irrelevant. It's going to be very similar to when you have leftover cards in your hand for a whole new world. You're like, oh, I have a couple of inkables in my hand. I can't really use these anyway. They're not affecting the board, and I kind of just need to move the game forward in my favor. That's when docks can come in. You're just going to play your dock and be like, oh, whatever, let's dump these, draw 2 more cards, and keep moving the game forward and pressuring it. I think Doc is going to be really good at that. I think Doc has honestly been very underplayed to this point. I can definitely see him seeing some play in Amber Steel, Amethyst Steel. If any deck really needed it and has a chance of being kind of like in the metagame, Ruby Steel might be one of those decks that really loves Doc as well. Just has no draw power, so having a card like Doc might just give you just a little bit more of a chance to make that deck more playable. All in all, I just think Doc was one of those cards that was very underrated in the early editions of like when cards were coming out and being spoiled. And I've seen some really powerful things going on with this character for, the first month of Shimmering Skies. Let's take a look at a deck list that could definitely fit Doc. So Doc's Lantern here, kind of playing off of what Brendan DeCandio won the CCS 10K with a few weeks ago. Understanding that Lantern is really great. Basically utilizing Lantern as another way to dump cards out of your hand even quicker. This way you can get rid of your cards and then play your Doc for only 1, draw 2 cards, and just keep pressuring the game more and more. This is not as nearly as a song-heavy deck, so we're not playing with aerials or anything like that. we're definitely basing our deck around Phil and Pete and Doc and just kind of pressuring the game, winning through additional lore, utilizing our singers when necessary, like Ursula and Cinderella, to play defense. But most importantly, just turn our guys sideways, gain a bunch of lore, and gain additional lore outside of just questing through Phil. All in all, this is just one of the many lists that I think Doc has a chance to truly be successful in. And I am very excited to see this card kind of just come out of its shell more and more and be successful in the new metagame. Hey guys, if you haven't checked it out yet, we have a new channel, TFM Gameplay, and on there we've been playing with a brand new set of sleeves. Titan Shield was actually very friendly, and they sent us a whole bunch of sleeves to try out. I am a die-hard Dragon Shield player. I've been playing Dragon Shields my entire life, literally since I was 12 years old, going to the Philadelphia Convention Center to play in Magic pre-releases. You could never convince me to give up Dragon Shields. But Titan Shield, honestly, pretty good, guys. And you can see the prices here, $11.99 for 150 cards. The average Dragon Shield these days is 100 sleeves for $15. So now we're saving $3 and getting 15 more shields. If you're looking to pick up some new sleeves and really try something new for a little bit cheaper, since Quintanas and Dragon Shields are really starting to get up there in price, you should check out Titan Shields. The link is going to be in the description and in the pinned comments. 150 sleeves, great. They have inner sleeves as well, great. You can buy them in bundles, awesome. Definitely check out the link in the description below. A card that 100% passed me in spoiler seasons, a card I really just overlooked, I didn't think it was going to see a ton of play, was Bonsai, Glutinous Predator. A 2-cost, uninkable, 3 strength, 2 willpower, 2 lore character for Emerald. This is just a card that honestly is just a 2 lore uninkable character. But what it really does is that it actually favorably trades into Snake. It favorably trades into Fox. So while you're always going to be turning him sideways, more than likely to gain 2 lore, your opponent can't simply get 2-for-1s on you any longer. Obviously, Flynn Rider was a 1-2 that forced your opponent to discard a card. So if they challenged it with Snake, they would still have to discard a card and you would still get a little more value out of it. This is different now. This is like, no, like your Snake cannot remove my Flynn Rider and then pick it up with Fox and Fox something else down. Like those plays are not going to happen anymore. They are going to have to straight up trade into Bonsai. And I think that that's really what's powerful about this card. It's that taking the Amethyst matchups of the 3 willpower characters that were always getting 2-for-1s out of your smaller O1s and 1-2s and 2-2s, this character really does make it like difficult and awkward for those decks to truly be successful. And when in doubt, 3 strength is very nice. You can also turn this guy into a threat to challenge. Emerald's biggest weak spots are the fact that it does not have characters that challenge well. Bonsai offering 3 strength to start and not necessarily needing any more buffs is a really massive thing for Emerald decks. I do really think this is a card that was very overlooked, but it is in so many Emerald decks. It's actually insane. It's one of those cards that we sell out of all the time once we restock them in the shop. So it had to be on this list because it's a card that I don't think many really considered was going to be good, and it's been a standout for sure early on in the metagame. The library is a card that I was over the moon excited for in Shimmering Skies, but not everyone bought in. I think now this 3-cost inkable Amethyst location with 1 to move to, 8 willpower, 1 lore, and the ability Lost in a Book, whenever a character is banished while here, you may draw a card, has really started to come out to being maybe the best uncommon in the set. And there are some bangers in this set of the uncommon rarity, but this card truly is fitting into just about every Amethyst deck now. You're seeing Amethyst Sapphire play this, you're seeing Ruby Amethyst decks play this, Emerald Amethyst decks play this, Amber Amethyst decks, and even Steel Amethyst. So the library is definitely adding a key role to almost every deck that can kind of in combination with Amethyst. It's not a flat replacement to a queen's castle, but it's definitely a very interesting option and most of the time offers the same thing. So very often or not, for one additional ink, moving characters here is pretty great. This card is phenomenal into Be Prepared and Grab Your Swords turns. When you know it's coming up, if on turn 5 we just have a couple guys laying around and we're just like, all right, I know my opponent's going to set up this play where he removes my characters from the game, or from the board, I should say, the least you can do is say, okay, I'm going to play library, put an 8 willpower thing into play, and then I'm going to move 2 characters to this and say, all right, now you have to either answer my library, which is 8 willpower, or I'm going to gain a lore over the course of the next several turns, more than likely, or you have to answer my characters, but when you do, I get to draw cards for them. This card is a standout. It is phenomenal. I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's going to be a true mainstay moving forward. This is a card that, if you're a foil person, I would definitely pick these up early. I just think the longer we go and the further away we get from the release of Shimmering Skies, a foil for the library is probably going to just be more and more. I don't know if anyone's checked out recently what Madam Mint snakes cost, but they're like $18 to $20 now for foils. I don't know that this card will get that high, but it'll probably be like a $10 to $15 foil before it's all said and done. So it might be worth picking these up pretty soon. All in all, Library is a card that I loved. I really do. I think it's a great card. I think it's a powerful card. And you can see now, like in these decks, Amethyst, Emerald, showcasing Bonsai, showcasing the Library, really showcasing everything that these decks can do, and how both of these cards have been a standout even in this deck, but also in other decks that Emerald has been featuring or that Amethyst has been featuring. There's just so much to do and so much potential for these cards because Bonsai offered something that Emerald did not have, and the library offered like a really like 1A, 1B option for the library and castle. So now, decks that were, very low to the ground aggro decks were kind of having a difficult time just putting castle into play and hoping it got there. Now it's not the same. It's like, no, I feel comfortable paying 3, putting a library into play, moving my characters to 2 it, so now they can draw a card when they're banished. And you really just kind of like put your opponent in just like this fork in the road position of like, what do I do? How do I answer a card like the library correctly? Like, it just puts your opponent so often in like a no-win position where they're like, man, he's probably going to gain 5 lore, or she's probably going to gain 4 cards. And I think that that is really the most crucial part of both of these cards. And it's crazy to think that even in a deck like this, you're seeing so much success here. You have Cogsworth here on this list, you have the library, you have Bonsai. Like, these are all cards that are already seeing success in the Disney Lorcana metagame, all in one package. So that's just like the starting point of some of how powerful some of these cards were actually showing out to be, that I think were very, very overlooked early on. Let's get in the next cards. Vision of the Future is a 2-cost inkable Sapphire action. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, put 1 into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. Vision of the Future, I think, was another card that honestly, when it was spoiled, when it was revealed, I don't think many looked at it one bit. I think a lot of people were like, oh, it's a develop your brain, but it costs 2. Why would we ever play that? Is it really that good? Can this card even see play? I wish it was a song. I think there was a lot of negativity, in all honesty, around this card, but this card's insane. I actually think that this is one of the best cards in the set. I definitely think it was overlooked. I do not think there was a lot of people that were rating this card very high, that were, putting this on tier lists, that were definitely saying, oh, this is going to be a staple to Sapphire decks. They were probably saying Sapphire doesn't need that. It's not important. They have enough draw. Why would I need selection? And yeah, Vision of the Future just kind of chumps all of that. This world where this card is always good does exist. Very often we want to be playing a ramp on 2, but in that world where we don't have a ramp on 2, playing Vision of the Future on 2 to find and guarantee, our Fishbone Quills, our Mickey Mouse Detectives, things like that, putting the pieces together, finding your Hyrims, finding your lucky dimes, finding your giant crabs, like all of those things that vision represents, and really doing it in a way that says, hey, maybe I don't need to play 4 of this card and 4 of that card and 4 of another card. Like I can play 2 of this, 3 of that, 1 of that, and know that vision is going to see 5 cards off the top of my deck that gives me a best opportunity to pick and choose each turn to be the most effective card. One of the more formidable decks that I think hasn't gotten a ton of love just yet, but has been successful in a few tournaments is Emerald Sapphire. This deck is very much in the need of finding the correct pieces to best be successful in matches, and having a card like Vision is so very powerful. Very often on turn 3, we really do want to be sticking a Fishbone Quill and things like that. But the crazy thing is that on turn 2, if we TPO, that means we have 3 resources. So that means on turn 3, we can actually play a Fishbone Quill, ink, and then ink with Fishbone Quill, and then Vision. We've gotten rid of a ton of cards already because of TPO and because of Fishbone Quill. Vision is basically going to guarantee that we find the card we're looking to pay off for. We're going to go find our Clarabelle. We're going to go find Hiram, things like that. If we need an Under the Sea, we already have 6 or 7 ink, which means we can just literally pay for Under the Sea without even having to sing it. If we have to find the crab, find the lucky dime, really start setting up our engine, Vision of the Future is going to help us do those things in this deck. I do think that this is a very, very powerful deck, and this is only one of the Sapphire decks that's going to play this card. I think Vision is another card just like Tipo that's just going to end up in so many Sapphire decks moving forward. I do truly think it's going to be a staple as long as it wants to be in the Disney Lorcana metagame. There you have it. Quick 7 brand new cards that I really do think were overlooked. Some of them very good, very powerful. And when we first saw them, we were like, I don't know, maybe it fits here, it fits there. And then all of a sudden, after a month of results, if in the meta reports you've seen these cards, they have been in several decks for various ink combinations. And I think that that's the most intriguing thing about this, is that it's very easy to overlook cards, and just love to find those diamonds in the rough. And that's what I think that these could start to be. Definitely some of them more than others. Some of them are just like, man, I can't believe I didn't think that card was good, or I didn't understand this card's place. And now that the metagame is developed, you definitely have started to see that and see these cards fall into place and show up more and more in deck lists. And I definitely look forward to seeing even more copies of them, in all honesty, as people start to develop and understand that these cards are powerful and they're very good and they're powerhouses. And honestly, some of them just directly answer questions that needed to be answered for an ink combination. So we'll have to see how good they are moving forward. But if you are looking for, specifically seeing some of this stuff, we have a TFM gameplay channel now. The link for it's going to be in the description below. It's also going to be in the pinned comment post. If you're looking to see some of these cards in action, you're going to start seeing more and more gameplay on here, but there's already 4 videos featuring Shimmering Skies, and most of the cards that were on this list are being played in these games. Thank you guys so much for watching today. Hope you enjoyed this video right here, and we'll catch you in the next one. See ya.